sounds like we might be coming to the conclusion of the Zoom bell. So we will dive on in. Thank you all for being on. We're here for our April monthly call. Wild that it's already April, but excited to see you. If you didn't know, apparently the flower to represent April is daisies. So we've got some of those up here. So for today, as a reminder of usual housekeeping, if you've not yet done so, you can edit your name in Zoom to make sure we can see your name as the way we know you. If you need to do that, if you go into your Zoom controls, bottom left, select participants, click more on your own name, you can choose rename. Just helpful for us to be certain who we're talking to and for attendance to be recorded. All right. We've got just a couple of things we'd love to discuss with you all today. First, we will give you a few updates on the innovation project. To clarify, Action Phase 2 is nearing its end. In previous meetings, we've been referring to the end of Action Phase 2 as mid-May. That's going to actually coincide with the May learning session.
And if I could just clarify on that, Tabitha, the week before that learning session will be your last updated dashboard on Action Phase 2. And so it'll actually be around the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, depending on when we get that data update.
Gotcha. So that'll be the end of the data. You can, of course, still make referrals in that remaining week for the two sites you focused on in Action Phase 1 and Action Phase 2. But the data will end that week prior. And then you will start Action Phase 3, which is kind of open season on all three of our community referral partners. So at that point, everyone should have had a PDSA focus on each partner, Sooner Start, Lasso, and PCAP. And so you can refer to any of them through Unite Us rather than through previous methods. As a friendly reminder, that May learning session has been scheduled for the 29th and 30th. We'll be looking forward to seeing you there. Another brief update, our qualitative guides that we showed you all last month are fully approved, so that those have gone through the ringer with HSE and OSDH and have gotten those final stamps. So supervisors, just be aware you'll be contacted soon to confirm the contact details of your providers. So our wonderful analyst, Andrew Peters, is in the process of creating the list of who we will recruit based off of their usage of Unite Us. And then once he gets that list put together, I will reach out to you all to confirm contact information. Of course, your providers can decline to participate, but that's how we're deciding who we'll contact. So stay tuned for that. Any questions before we keep it on? Great. All right. Next, we want to just spotlight some of our challenges, successes, and kudos for this past month. I think I've shared with you all before and will say again, I feel so blessed to have our liaisons. There are times where a question will come through by email, and by the time I actually see the thread, everything's fixed and resolved. So they are so responsive and communicative, as well as our contact at Unite Us, Caleb Woodbury. But it still behooves us to discuss challenges. So we've noticed in the last month in hearing from you all and the concerns that come up that while our main goal is really that true care coordination where the loop is closed, we still have that barrier of an additional release of information to be signed. And especially as it relates to families seeking Sooner Start services, we've had kind of variability on whether or not that form is signed. If it is not signed, that means that our Sooner Start liaison, Elizabeth Finkhauser, can't give back as much information as we would like to represent true care coordination. So that's an ongoing challenge. We continue to try to address it. I shared last month that Elizabeth made a really effective transcript or suggested script for Sooner Start consumer providers to use. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, but that is a challenge. There are also just the kind of normal challenges of getting a family started with a new service. As another example, we received wind of a case closing because the family wasn't able to be contacted. But this was a family whose work hours were such that they couldn't take a phone call during the hours in which the agency was operating. So the provider, the home visiting provider, and the liaison were able to communicate and kind of make a game plan of how to resubmit that referral and make sure that family got connected and was had a workaround to communicate back. All that to say, we're aware there are ongoing challenges, and we remain optimistic that we can find creative ways to innovate and address those. So thank you for communicating them to us. Please continue to do so that we can do our best to support that this new innovation, this new tool in your workflow is actually helpful. On that note, we also have a range of successes that we're lucky to report back on. I think just because of how the PDSAs and screened needs have worked out so far, we have heard the most about Lasso, which is not at all to downgrade our other two partners. It's just how the referrals have worked out. But we've been really fortunate that Pilar is so communicative, and we've had a lot of success stories of families who got a need met and that the home visiting provider got back really useful information through this use of the custom forms in Unitas that they might not have received otherwise. So we're really excited about that success. We also had a recent one that actually, Lisa, I think you might be more familiar with the details of this with regard to the program that reached out to Elizabeth. Can you speak a little to that? That's one of our successes.
I'm not sure which one you're talking to me about because
the outside network.
there have been the outside. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this is kind of an added benefit that we're seeing. You have some visibility on Unitas that you didn't previously have. And we had some other organizations in Oklahoma contacting through the Elizabeth and others through at Sooner Start through Unitas and saying, hey, can we refer to this organization? We see this innovation grant, and so we don't know if this is how we can do it. And at this time, Sooner Start is only taking innovation grant referrals through Unitas, but it goes to show that there are those outside interests who may be taking advantage of if you have an organization as Lasso does that's a non-innovation grant organization, so they can get more referrals.
Yeah, we were excited to hear that, and that was one of our hopes while we're focusing on our learning collaborative and our 3 community partners. There really is a large Oklahoma network for Unitas, Unite Oklahoma, and we're hopeful that as folks continue to play around in the platform, you're able to see a lot of different agencies you could refer to using this tool and learning about resources that can benefit your families. So those are some successes we just wanted to highlight. In terms of kudos, just a thank you, thank you, thank you. Supervisors, please tell your staff we've received a lot of praise that it's been much easier to communicate about referrals through that messaging function in Unitas. So that's a kudos to our liaisons, but also to all of the staff who are really utilizing that feature. It's the most secure, fast way we can answer questions and had been underutilized previously. We brought that up at the last monthly call, and you all really did an excellent job disseminating that recommendation because we have seen a big shift in level of communication. So thank you very much for doing that. And then we showed this last month, so I thought it might be helpful just to give you another picture, kind of a bird's eye view of the data we see through what is our insight license for how referrals are going through Unitas. This image is from our insight license and was updated as of yesterday evening. And just an overview, we can see that there have been 145 referrals from all of our innovation grant sites, and that has impacted or represented 121 unique clients. Of those 145 referrals, a really high number, the highest number, has been accepted. Of course, we've had still some rejected for a variety of reasons that we will know in that more granular data from the custom forms. Some are still in review. We still have a decent number of that recalled. We talked about that last time. Several of those are because they came from the incorrect organization. But again, we have a lot of referrals going out and a lot of families served. In terms of sending organizations, we've had 10 organizations who have sent a referral, and you can see some of those heading the leaderboard there because it worked out that their screened families had a need. And then for receiving organizations, as I said, it really has worked out that LASSO has happened to get most of them sooner start catching up, and we'll be excited with the third action phase to see PCAP get on the board. Another thing to highlight that might be a success, I hope, is in terms of those receiving organizations, there are some that were outside of the grant. So that means that maybe you have used your license to see that full kind of picture of Unite Oklahoma. And there have been some referrals back into home visiting. So we're really excited about that it's not just home visiting to the community referral partners, but that we are getting some referrals into your agencies. All right, I'm going to pass the baton over to Dr. Deshay and to Andrew Peters.
Yes, we just wanted to show an example of a dashboard and some of the good work that's being done. So Andrew, if you could just take it away on the dashboard you were going to share.
Yes, absolutely. Let me fire this up. So this is the, wait, is my screen visible?
You're good.
Okay, yes. So this is the dashboard for Safe Care North Care, and their main outcome of interest was looking at, okay, of those families that we refer to LASSO, how many of them will actually receive those LASSO services? And we looked at the United data and found that for this cycle, North Care clients, they had about 8 different clients that have been referred to LASSO at least once. And of those 8, I'm afraid only 2 of them have been accepted so far. And this is the main outcome of interest to try to fill out, okay, what's happening to those other 6 families. They'd also wanted to track the reasons that a family might be declined, which is also something we keep track of in Unite Us. I'm afraid so far we only have 2 non-missing responses to that item of why a client was declined or why a client declined a referral. And we found that there was one case where someone just said other, but we don't really know what other means. There's also one other family where they were a duplicate. It seems that this is a family that was already in LASSO prior to the referral from their home visiting program. Now, I'm afraid we had a process measure as well that we weren't able to graph. We also want to look at how many families, okay, who is eligible for LASSO, who had a need for LASSO, and that's an item we get not from Unite Us, but within ETO on the PDSA touchpoint. And I'm afraid there wasn't any data on that touchpoint for North Care clients that we could find. So I don't have the process measure on display here. What I do have instead is what I've called sort of the total summary table. I've also, like behind the scenes, I'm kind of calling this the travel table because it's showing where our data is coming from and where it's going to. So we found 85, well, total of, this would be 94 unique clients for North Care during this time frame. For 85 of them, we didn't have any United data at all. For these 8 clients, these 2 rows here, we got 8 clients that we have screening United data. They were referred to LASSO. 2 were referred to LASSO and were accepted, and 6 were not. And then there was one remaining client that we have United data. They were referred to some service, just not specifically to LASSO. This is a table that I've added to most of my dashboards so far that's just kind of describing the patterns of data we are seeing for all the clients. We added this because it helps make sense of data that's being pulled from a lot of different sources. And so this is that's what I have for the Safe Care North Care dashboard. I don't know how much time you've allotted for me, but I have the PATCAP Tulsa dashboard up here as well.
Sure. Is Cap Tulsa focused on another site?
Yes, they're focused on PCAP. And again, unfortunately for this cycle, we haven't seen anyone who's been referred to PCAP or who's accepted PCAP, which were their two headline graphs. The reason for that being, let's see, I think we were tracking the, I believe for this family, we're also tracking in the PDSA touchpoint who has a need for PCAP, and just none of their clients did. So no one is receiving PCAP, but it seems to be that that's because just there isn't a client for CAP Tulsa during the cycle that has a need for it. But we are keeping track of it, and they are distributing a brochure describing the PCAP services to clients, and that count is going up. Looks like about half of the clients they've seen so far during the cycle have received that brochure, a little over half.
Thanks, Andrew, so much for taking that time.
Yeah, this is really typical of what we're seeing on the other dashboards. We're trying to get everything that you had wanted as your disruptor measures, your process measures, but until we get some data, there's not a lot we can do.
All right. And with that, while we don't have a large amount of data, there is some. And so as a friendly reminder, as you prepare for the learning sessions, I know you've discussed it in your rounding calls, but just as another plug, that we will be reporting out on how your PDSA went for action phase 2 at the learning session. And we strongly encourage you to find a nice blend between the creativity. I mean, you all really brought, like, you got your A game on creativity at our last learning session, and we don't want to lose that. We just want to integrate now some of the numbers. So utilize your dashboard to inform the creativity, reference the data points, but also please feel free to explore however you want. Maybe you were inspired by somebody else's team in the last one. Maybe you want to do it your same type of creativity again, or explore something else, but we are looking forward to seeing it in whatever form that takes shape in. All right. Next, I'm going to pass the mic over to Dr. Bard, who's going to share a little bit about what lies ahead for the Learning Collaborative now that we know innovation will be coming to a close come September.
Tabitha, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So hello, everyone. We are certainly not ready to say goodbye to this learning collaborative. So we have a whole new action phase just in front of us. You have a month left on this second action phase, but it is not too early to start planning for the next learning collaborative. I think Kat's been out of the bag for a little while, so this may have already been news you've heard. And it was certainly informed by your voices, and particularly the consultants of the models who are hearing directly from you. We had strong support for a learning collaborative on the topic of workforce development, very broadly speaking. And so it's not official, but we're definitely leaning in that direction. We're already starting to lay some tracks for a learning collaborative on that topic. And per our usual MO as the evaluation team for MIECHV as well, we're also considering a wraparound evaluation on the topic of workforce development. This would not be the first time that learning collaboratives have focused on workforce development in home visiting, which is good for us. There have been several before us. In fact, the National COIN, HV COIN network, in their third version of operation, pulled together a workforce development learning collaborative, and we will rely pretty heavily on their playbook. I'll show you a snapshot of that in just a second, and the lessons that have been learned from the LIAs that were involved in that work, which just wrapped up a couple of years ago. Forecasting the future here, a little more specificity on the evaluation side. The agency has the opportunity to apply for additional MIECHV funding next month. It's still April, right? Yeah, so next month. And embedded within that is an opportunity for us to participate in MIECHV evaluation. Like the last major round of funding for MIECHV evaluation, this go around will involve coordinated efforts across awardees. And we had a small list of topics that we could focus on. Workforce development happened to be one of those. So again, that's where we're leaning. We plan to put an application in next month where we don't paint ourselves into a corner necessarily, but we indicate to the federal sponsor that that's the topic we would like to study in this next round of coordinated state evaluations. So a lot more of that coming down the road as we look to strengthen the messaging from your teams and ideally even some of your clients about the impact of workforce development on the viability of your programs and on the success of your programs. I'm going to put in the chat a link to the National COIN Network Learning Collaborative on, they called it staff recruitment and retention, not workforce development, but same concept. And you can browse this at your leisure. I'll share the screen just momentarily and give you a cliffhanger version of it. So hopefully I'm sharing the right screen and you see topic areas here, staff recruitment and retention. Again, this was out of the, I said the third version before, but all the HV COIN collaboratives that have been completed to date, you'll find information on those here. I actually think this was part of 2.0, but they're doing 3.0 now. So that's why the website says 3.0. This is completed now. You see that they have a playbook that you can download. They also have some sessions that you can listen to. They run monthly calls, just like we do here in Oklahoma for our Learning Collaborative. The playbook I have open already, and I was just going to highlight that in the playbook, you'll find a key drivers diagram. So again, we're hoping we can lean pretty heavily on the lessons that were learned in the previous Learning Collaborative. Notice that their overall goal was quite broad. In fact, I would say this is going to be broader than any Learning Collaborative we have done to date if this does become official. So they were interested in, their overall goal was interested in how to improve professional well-being of home visitors and home visiting supervisors, including job and pay satisfaction, psychological well-being, self-efficacy and confidence, job meaning and fulfillment. Over on the right-hand side of this document, you see their primary drivers broken down into hiring practices, home visiting workforce supports, physical and psychological health, wellness, balance of home visiting professionals, and then finally teamwork and communication. I know their driver diagram looks a little different than the one we often publicize and you see in our kickoff sessions, but same content, it's just spread out across several forms here. So here we get into the secondary driver details, and you'll find the change ideas on the subsequent pages. So again, we've got a full a full action phase ahead of us and a month left on your second one. So we're not rushing into this just yet, but if you're curious and you want to know what others have done before us, please feel free to take a look, and we would love your feedback. In the months ahead, we will come up with a variety of ways to explicitly gather that feedback. Okay, I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I assume I'm handing the mic back to either Tabitha or Lisa.
You were going to talk about the leadership team and how things are going to be going forward.
Our leadership team?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I am pleased to tell you, if it isn't already obvious, that Tabitha Fleming is going to be an even bigger part of our work ahead. So we are thrilled. She's been primarily involved in the innovation study. Clearly, there's spillover with the CQI work that you're doing, the Learning Collaborative work that you're doing. We hope to actually get her even more engaged in this next year and the years ahead in the evaluation work that we do with your agencies. So she has happily for us agreed to take on that expanded role, and will be co-investigator and actually managing some of the PI responsibilities for some of the evaluation work that we do. We'll continue to help lead the learning collaborative, she and Lisa both. So I think those are the major highlights ahead. And we do have, as often is the case, a little bit of turnover in our analysts. We're lucky we've got some faculty who have been a part of the Learning Collaborative for the last 2 years. We are hopeful we can add on some of our other staff members and a new batch of graduate students. So some of you have worked with our graduate students over the years, so it's been fantastic. They come and go a lot more frequently than the staff and the faculty, and we do anticipate a new crop of we call them graduate research assistants joining us for the next Learning Collaborative and the next round of evaluation.
And MIECHV has moved into a faculty position, hasn't she?
MIECHV, yes, that's true. MIECHV was one of those who was a GRA not that long ago and joined our faculty last summer, late last summer.
All right.
I'm missing that. Yeah, okay.
I think that was it, David, but thank you for the kind and warm words regarding my continued involvement. I enjoy working with you all, so you can't get rid of me.
And I'm going to continue with the monthly meetings and everything, and kind of overseeing the CQI stuff.
Absolutely. I think we're a pretty good like trident, really, which is the best weapon, I think. So 3 prongs, let's go. Wrapping up, we just have a couple of reminders. So these are repeated from the slides from last month, but we feel it bears repeating, and just want to keep it on your radar. So just to keep this in mind with regard as we have 1 month left of this action phase and move into the third, for sooner start referrals, please remind your providers that they need to have the parent or caregiver's name, phone number, or any other important contact information in the contact notes that's required for that referral to be accepted. For LASSO, please remember that all referrals have to have a legal sub-service type indicated, a common one that we've seen. And in fact, I think the highest one endorsed so far in our data is housing law. That's one example. And that for all your referral partners, remind your providers to warn clients they're going to be asked to sign a release of information form. And while of course that's still their choice to sign, to just kind of prepare them that that's going to be part of the process of these referrals through Unite Us, and that if they sign it, that means that the provider gets to learn more about how that referral is going. So those reminders are there. I struck one of the reminders from here because it was about using the messaging function, which you all have done beautifully. So hopefully these are helpful. Again, these slides will be shared out to everybody. But that does conclude what I had for the primary agenda. So we can pause here for David and Lisa, add anything else, or for folks to report back any questions or successes and challenges that you've had that we didn't get the chance to highlight.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions, any concerns, any issues that you'd like to discuss? We're still open to that interpretive dance that I've been hoping for from everybody. You can celebrate Elizabeth and Pilar. Pilar has gotten a lot of positive feedback that her ears ought to be burning every day. All right, hearing none, y'all have a good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You too.